Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. We're going to be looking at your Chapter 6 test review. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. For number 1, the fraction will be 7/10. The decimal is 0.7, and the percent will be 70%. Oops. Let's get that working again. There we go. For the second little section, I'm going to go backwards. So we have a percent of 0.5. So that means the decimal will be 0.005. And then when we write it as a fraction, initially it'll be 5/1000ths, but then when we simplify, it'll be 1/200. Okay. For 7/8, all you had to do is take your calculator and type in 7 divided by 8, and you get 0.875. And then rounding that or making that into a percent would be 87.5%. The next one talks about ordering from least to greatest. We have 1/5 for homework, 25% for a project, 0.4 for quizzes, and 15% for the final exam. 15% would be your lowest. And then your 1/5, that's 20%. And then 25%, and then last would be 0.4. Okay. For number 3, it says tell which one is greater. We have 15%, and then 1/6, you could change that to a percentage by just doing 1 divided by 6. And that is going to give you 16.6 repeating percent. So we would say that, sorry, just kidding, 1/6 is greater. And then for number 4, if you change 0.9 to a percentage, that's going to be 9%. So 90% is obviously bigger for number 4. Number 5, this says write and solve a proportion. What number is 45% of 60? Here's what your proportion would look like initially. And then you're going to cross multiply. 60 times 45 is 2700. And 100 times x is 100x. And then you divide both sides by 100. And x will be equal to 27. And number 6, same type of deal. This time we're solving for a percent, so we're doing 48 over 160 is equal to x over 100. Cross multiplying, we get 4800 is equal to 160x, and then you're essentially dividing both sides by 160. X will be equal to 30. Okay. 7 and 8 says write an equation. So 8 is 0.5% of what? Here's how I'd set that up. Remember, you have to change all your percents to decimals. So 0.5% would be 0.005. And then you're going to be dividing by 0.005 to get 1600. Same thing for number 8. We don't know the percent, so we're going to fill in the of, which is 130, and is, which is 182, and then divide by 130. You get this decimal here, 1.4, and that's not our percentage. We do need to change that to a percentage, so that's going to equal 140%. How are we doing so far? Number 9, find the percent of change. Remember how we do that is we take the difference and divide it by the original amount. So you should have done 21 minus 12 and divided it by 12. When you subtract, you get 9. So 9 divided by 12 gives you 0.75, which is equal to 75%. No need to round. Number 10, same way. 60 minus 25 divided by 60, since that's the original number. With this one, you subtract 60 and 25, you get 35, and then 35 divided by 60 gives you a repeating decimal, 0.583 with the 3 repeating. So when we round to the nearest tenth of a percent, we'll just say it's about 58.3% here. And since it told us to round, we didn't need to include that repeating sign. Finding the new amount, remember again, this is just finding the percent of the number. So for both of these, you're essentially just finding 33% of 2000 and 65% of 140. All I'm doing there is just taking the percentage, changing it to a decimal, and multiplying by 2000. I get 660 for number 11, so that's 33% of 2000. And then since we're increasing, I just take 2,000 and add 660 to it, and we'll get 2,660 for number 11. For number 12, you're just taking 0.65 times 140, and you're going to get 91, and we're decreasing, so 140 minus 91 should be 49. Okay? Keep going here. 13. The original sales price is $75. The sales tax is 7%. What is the total cost? What I'm going to do simply for this one is just multiply 75 times the percent equivalent or decimal equivalent of 7%, and I get 5.25. That's going to be the tax. So to find the total cost, I have to take 75 and add 5.25 to it, and that'll give me 80.25 or $80.25. Number 14 is a little bit different. You're trying to find the percent. The sale price is the is. Original price is the of. Don't know the percentage. So we're multiplying. Cross multiplying, we get 8,125 is equal to 125x. When we're done dividing, we get this 65. To double check to make sure 65% is our discount, we need to just figure out what is 65% off of 125. So 0.65 times 125. When we do that, that gives us 81.25. So that's not really telling us the sale price or what the discount was off. So what we have to do actually is take 100 and subtract 65, and that'll give us the 35% off. So if we find 35% of 125, we get the 43.75 as the discount, and when we subtract 43.75 from 125, then we get that 81.25. So your correct answer here is actually 35%. It's just a leftover percent of the rest of the 65% off. Number 15, we're taking a discount, so we're just essentially, a simple way to do that is take $24.50 and times it by 18%, the decimal equivalent. For this one, we get $4.41. So to figure out what my sale price will be, I'm going to take my $24.50 and subtract 4.41 to get $20.09. For number 16, you're kind of just doing the opposite thing here. You're still taking your starting amount, multiplying it by your decimal equivalent, but instead this is a markup, so at the end, when we multiply 145 by 1.5, we get 217.5. So this is a markup. We're going to add 145 and 217.5 to get $362.50. For interest, remember you can use your formula. You will be given this formula on your test. This will be the only thing that you're given. I is equal to PRT. So for 17, we're trying to find the interest earned. You should have simply just taken the money amount times the decimal equivalent times 2. Multiplying that all together, you would get $104. The next one, though, you're trying to find the interest rate. You know the interest earned is $837. The principal earned, or the principal starting amount is $3,100. You don't know the rate, but you know the time is in 6 years. We're going to first multiply this 3,100 times 6, and we'll get 18,600 times R is equal to 837 over here. And then you're essentially just going to be dividing 18,600 by 837. So 837 divided by 18,600 gives you a decimal of 0.045 as the rate, but we need that in percent form, so that'll be 4.5%. Okay? last few, you're shopping for a cell phone, what's the lowest price? So first you just have to find all the sale prices for these. When I found the percent off, so I did 0.30 times 129 minus 129 and did the same thing for each one. Afterwards, I found that option B was the cheapest or the lowest sale price. So again, how I did that, for example, for letter A, I did 129 times 0.30. Then you get your discount. Of $38.70. And then you have to take 129 and subtract the $38.70. And that gives you your 90/30. So you can go back and try that for each three of those. Okay, but same type of mechanism for each one of them. For number 20, if 265 pieces of fruit were picked according to the circle graph, how many pieces were picked? Here would be my proportion first. I did x out of 265. That's the total amount of fruit, and then 20 over 100 because 20% represents pairs. I'm going to cross multiply. I get 5,300 is equal to 100x, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 100. X will be equal to 53. The next one, an account earns simple interest. Find the balance of the account. So you have to find the simple interest and then add it back to the original amount. So here I am setting up my equation for interest, 1,400 times the 125% or 0.0125 times 3. So I'm just going to multiply those real quick in my calculator. 1,400 times 0.0125 times 3, and I get 52.5, which just means 52.50 in interest. And then I'm going to add it back to 1,400 to find the balance. So I get 1,452.50. Okay.